License registration now.
Glove box, reaching slowly.
Keep those hands where I can see them. What's in the bag back there?
Personal and professional items. No consent to search without cause.
Step out for officer safety.
All right.
You know, a badge can make a man blind to the truth, staring him right in the face, turning a simple drive home into a nightmare you never saw coming. Ever feel like you're invisible until you're suddenly too visible? Like the whole world decides you're a threat just for breathing the same air? Drop a comment if you've ever had to hold your breath just to make it through a conversation that shouldn't have even started. Tell me where you're listening from, Chicago like me or somewhere else. And if you believe karma eventually shows up and balances the scales, hit that subscribe button. We're in this together. It was one of those late summer evenings in Chicago where the heat hangs on even after the sun drops. The kind of sticky humidity that makes your shirt cling to your back the second you step outside. I'd just come off a 16-hour day down in Englewood. We'd finally rolled up a stash house the cartel had been running out of, an old two-flat on 63rd. 3 arrests, 2 kilos recovered, a couple of firearms off the street. Good day. Clean day. The kind that reminds you why you stay in this line of work even when it tries to chew you up. But right then, I wasn't Supervisory Special Agent Marcus Reed. I was just Marcus, 47, tired, driving my beat-up '09 Chevy Impala north on the Dan Ryan. No suit, no tie, no government plate, just faded black jeans, a gray hoodie with the sleeves pushed up, and a gym bag tossed on the back seat. Inside that bag, redacted case summaries, burner notes from the wiretap, my secure phone, and a thumb drive with encrypted audio that could put 3 more mid-level players away for a long time. Nothing flashy, nothing that screamed federal, just work. The jazz station was playing low, Coltrane, something slow and aching that matched the way my shoulders felt. I cracked the window an inch to let in the lake breeze off Michigan. It smelled like diesel and wet concrete, and that faint metallic tang the city always carries at dusk. Exit 51A came up, I signaled, merged right, and started the slow wind through the quieter streets toward Oak Park. Home wasn't far now. A shower, a beer, maybe call my sister in Atlanta to check on Mom. Routine, safe. Then the lights hit the rear view. Blue and red, sharp, slicing through the dim street like a blade. My stomach dropped the way it does when you know what's coming before it even arrives. I checked my speed, 32 and a 35. Taillights, working. Signals, clean. No weave, no swerve. But I already knew none of that mattered. I eased the Chevy to the curb under a row of big maples on a side street just off Harlem Avenue. Nice block, quiet, porch lights glowing soft yellow, kids' bikes chained to fences, American flags hanging limp in the humid air. The kind of place people move to when they want to feel safe from the city. I killed the engine. Hands at 10 and 2 on the wheel, visible. Always keep them visible. The cruiser pulled in behind me, high beams glaring. Door opened, boots hit pavement. One set, young, purposeful. I watched him in the side mirror. White, maybe mid-20s, short buzz cut, shoulders squared like he'd been waiting all shift for something to happen. Flashlight already on, beam sweeping the car like he was painting targets. He approached on the driver's side, slow, deliberate. Stopped just behind the doorpost, the Academy-approved position, smart, cautious, or maybe just trained to see danger everywhere. Evening, he said. Voice flat. Not a greeting, an order to respond. Evening, officer. I kept my tone even, polite, the way you learn early. License and registration. I nodded once, slow. They're in the glove box. I'm going to reach over now, okay? Do it slow. I did. Left hand on the wheel, right hand moving deliberately to pop the glove compartment. The registration was right on top, license in my wallet. I pulled both, kept my movements small, predictable, handed them out the window without turning my head too fast. He took them, shined the light on my face again, longer this time. I felt the beam crawl over my skin like cold fingers. You know why I pulled you over? No, sir. Tail lights out. I exhaled through my nose. I checked them this morning. Both working. He didn't answer, just stared at the license, then at me, then at the car. His eyes flicked to the back seat, lingered on the gym bag. Where are you coming from? Work. Where's that? South Side, Englewood area. A small snort. Long way to come just to drive through Oak Park. I live here. He looked at the address on the license again. This says Oak Park. That's right. Silence. The kind that stretches. He stepped back half a pace, flashlight dipping to the ground, then back up. Step out of the vehicle. My pulse kicked up, but my voice stayed level. May I ask why, officer? Routine stop. I need to make sure everything's okay. Everything was already not okay, but I knew arguing here would only make it worse. I reached for the door handle slow, announced every move, opening the door now. I stepped out, 6'2", solid but not bulky, hoodie loose, hands visible, palms open slightly. He immediately closed the distance, positioning himself so I was between him and the car. Hands where I can see them. They already were. He circled to the passenger side, shined the light inside again, paused on the gym bag. What's in the bag? Personal items, gym clothes, work papers. Mind if I take a look? Yes, I do mind. Unless you have probable cause or a warrant, that's private property. His jaw tightened. Just a flicker, but I caught it. You got something to hide? No, I'm just exercising my rights. He stepped closer. Close enough, I could smell his aftershave and the faint sourness of sweat under the polyester uniform. People who got nothing to hide don't usually talk about rights so quick. I met his eyes, steady. People who know their rights usually do. Something shifted in his face. Embarrassment maybe, or anger at being challenged. He straightened. I'm going to need you to step to the rear of the vehicle. For what purpose? Safety. I'm conducting an investigation. Investigation of what? Suspicious activity. What activity? You driving through a neighborhood you don't belong in, late with a bag you won't let me see. I felt the familiar weight settle in my chest. The same weight that's been there since I was 16, and my father got pulled over for looking around in a suburb 10 miles from our house. Same weight every time the blue lights find me, even when I'm doing everything right. I live here, I said again, slower, clearer. This is my neighborhood. He didn't respond, just pointed to the back of the Chevy. Hands on the trunk, now. I hesitated. Not defiance, calculation. Every move I made from here would be watched, recorded, judged. I placed both palms on the warm metal of the trunk lid, spread my feet shoulder width. He patted me down, quick, rough, more force than necessary. Hands sliding over ribs, waist, thighs, checking for weapons I didn't have. When he finished, he stepped back. Stay right there. He went to the passenger door, opened it without asking, reached in, pulled the gym bag onto the pavement. That's private property, I said. Voice low, controlled. He ignored me, unzipped the bag, shined the light inside. Papers, folders, my secure phone in its black case, a couple of protein bars, a water bottle. He lifted a redacted report, black bars over names and dates, but the DEA header still visible in the corner. His brow furrowed. What is all this? Work documents. What kind of work? I'm not at liberty to discuss that without my supervisor present. He laughed. Short, sharp. Supervisor, right. He pulled the phone out, turned it over in his hand. Unlock it. No? Excuse me? I said no. That's a work device. Federal property. You need a warrant. His face hardened. Flashlight beam swung back to my eyes, blinding. You're refusing to comply? I'm asserting my constitutional rights. There's a difference. He stepped closer again. Voice dropped low. You know what happens to people who refuse to comply? I didn't answer. Didn't need to. We both knew. He reached for his cuffs. The metallic rattle cut through the quiet street. Turn around, hands behind your back. My heart hammered once, hard, then steadied. I turned slowly, placed my hands behind me. The steel closed around my left wrist first, cold, tight, then the right, click, click. The sound echoed in my ears longer than it should have. He spun me back toward the car, pushed my chest against the trunk lid, not hard enough to bruise, hard enough to remind me who was in charge. Don't move. I didn't. He went back to the bag, rifling deeper. Papers slid out, caught the breeze, fluttered against the curb. One sheet landed face up under the streetlight, enough black ink to hide the details, but the gold-embossed seal of the United States Department of Justice still caught the light. He froze for half a second, then kept going. I closed my eyes for one long breath, felt the humid air press against my face, the metal of the cuffs biting into skin already slick with sweat, heard the faintly rumble of an L train far off toward the city, smelled cut grass and motor oil and the sharp chemical edge of his adrenaline, and in that moment, under the weight of steel and scrutiny and a badge that saw only skin instead of story, I made the quietest decision of the night. I stopped explaining. I started remembering. Every training I'd ever sat through. Every supervisor who'd told me, keep your cool, document everything. Every black man before me who'd survived the same stop by swallowing rage and breathing slow. I opened my eyes again. He was still digging, and the cuffs were still tight, but my pulse had gone steady now, cold, deliberate. Because whatever came next, I knew one thing for certain. This wasn't going to end on his terms. Because whatever came next, I knew one thing for certain. This wasn't going to end on his terms. His radio crackled to life a moment later, breaking the thick silence of the street. Unit 217, what's your status? Need backup? He keyed the mic without taking his eyes off me. Yeah, send a unit. Got a non-compliant male here. Possible contraband in the vehicle. The words hung in the humid air like a verdict already passed. I felt the cuffs dig deeper as I shifted my weight slightly, the metal warming against my skin, but still unforgiving. He zipped the bag shut roughly, shoving it back into the car, then turned to me with that same flat stare. You just made this a whole lot harder on yourself. The accusation lit a slow burn in my gut, but I kept my face neutral, my breathing even. I'd been here before. Not this exact spot, but this feeling. The one where your world narrows to the space between compliance and catastrophe. I watched him circle back around the Chevy, his boots scraping lightly on the asphalt, the flashlight beam bouncing off the leaves overhead like erratic fireflies. Spread your feet wider, he ordered, kicking at my ankle with the toe of his boot. Not a full kick, just enough to jolt. I adjusted, the soles of my sneakers gripping the uneven curb. He patted me down again, slower this time, more thorough, his palms pressing hard against my pockets, my sides, like he was searching for secrets I didn't have. The hoodie fabric bunched under his grip, and I caught the faint whiff of his cologne mixed with the night's dampness. Invasive, that's what it was. Like he owned every inch he touched. Nothing, he muttered almost to himself, stepping back. But instead of easing up, his posture stiffened. Why you so tense? If you're clean, why fight me on the bag? I'm not fighting, I replied, voice steady as a heartbeat. I'm cooperating, but you need articulable suspicion for a search. That's the law. He snorted, holstering the flashlight. Law? Everybody's a lawyer now. His hand drifted to the taser on his belt, fingers tapping the handle like a nervous habit. You think quoting some book smarts is going to get you out of this? I didn't respond. Let the silence do the work. Inside, though, my mind was racing, piecing together the details I'd need later. Badge number 1847, glimpsed on his chest plate. Name tag, Officer J. Harlan. Cruiser plate, Partial View, Illinois, 492K something. The street sign at the corner, Washington Boulevard. Mental notes, sharp as pins, sticking in place. Headlights appeared down the block then. Another cruiser rolling up slow, no sirens, just the low hum of the engine. It parked nose to tail with his, and a second officer climbed out, older, heavier set, with a mustache that looked like it belonged in the 70s. He ambled over, thumbs hooked in his belt, sizing up the scene. "What's going on, Harlan?" "Stop for the tail light. Guy's evasive, won't let me check the bag, acting like he's got something to hide." The older one, sergeant by the stripes, glanced at me, then the Chevy. "ID check out?" "Yeah, but he's from the south side. Claims he lives here." I spoke up then, clear and direct. "I do live here, 3 blocks west. You can verify the address." Harlan waved me off. "He's quoting Terry Stopps or some crap. Thinks he's smart." The sergeant raised an eyebrow but didn't laugh. "All right, let's see the bag." Harlan grabbed it again, dumped the contents onto the trunk this time. Papers spilled out, redacted sheets with headers like Operation Shadownet, partially visible under the street lamp glow. The secure phone tumbled last, clattering against the metal. He picked it up, thumbed the power button. The screen lit up with a lock prompt, no apps showing, just a blank federal issue interface. "What's the code?" "I can't give that, it's classified." "Classified?" Harlan echoed it like a joke, tossing the phone back into the pile. "You hear this, Sarge? Classified. Like he's some spy." The sergeant picked up one of the papers, squinting at the fine print. Black bars covered half the text, but words like DEA surveillance summary peeked through. He paused, lowered the sheet. "What kind of work you do exactly?" "I'm a federal employee. Those documents are sensitive. Handling them without authorization could be a problem." Harlan cut in. "Problem for who? You? Sit tight." He turned to the sergeant. "We should run him downtown. Let booking sort it." Downtown. The word landed heavy like a door closing. I knew what that meant. Hours in a holding cell, fingerprints, questions, all while my real work sat exposed on a car trunk in suburbia. The sergeant hesitated, rubbing his chin. "You got probable cause for the cuffs?" "Resisting, evasive answers." "I wasn't resisting," I interjected. "I complied with every command." Harlan's face flushed under the sodium lights. "See? Mouthy. That's resistance." No, it wasn't. But arguing semantics on a dark street rarely wins. I focused on the feel of the breeze picking up, rustling the maple leaves above, carrying the distant bark of a dog. Sensory anchors to stay grounded. The cuffs were starting to chafe now, a dull ache spreading up my forearms. The sergeant sighed. "All right, put him in the car. We'll tow the vehicle, inventory everything at the station." Tow. That meant impound. Fees, delays, and my encrypted drive in some evidence locker where curious hands might poke. Harlan grabbed my elbow, steering me toward his cruiser. His grip was firm, fingers digging in like I might bolt. I didn't. I walked deliberate, steps measured, head up. The back door opened with a creak, and he guided me in, none too gentle, my shoulder bumping the frame. The interior smelled like vinyl and old fast food, the plastic seat hard and unforgiving under me. He slammed the door, the thud vibrating through the frame. Outside, they conferred in low voices, flashlights dancing over my scattered papers. Harlan gathered them haphazardly, stuffing back into the bag, crumpling edges that held months of undercover logs. I leaned back against the seat, the divider mesh cool against my forehead. Closed my eyes for a count of 10. Inhale, exhale. The rage was there, simmering low, a hot coil in my chest, but I banked it, let it fuel the recall instead. Flashes came unbidden. Me at 12, watching Dad get pulled over on the Dan Ryan for a routine check. Him gripping the wheel, white-knuckled, voice low. "Yes, sir. No, sir." Later, at home, his silence heavy as he stared at the wall. "Sometimes you swallow it, son, to make it home." Then me at 22, fresh out of UIC on a partial ride, scraping by with 2 jobs while studying criminology, nights in the library, poring over case law, vowing I'd change the game from inside. Joining DEA at 28 after losing a cousin to the same poison I now hunted. Climbing ranks, undercover stints in Pilsen, busts in Austin. Promotions that came with scars, literal and not. Now here, cuffed in a squad car, my hidden badge a ghost in a drawer back home. The irony twisted like the cuffs. All that sweat, all those risks, reduced to suspicious because of a hoodie and a route home. Harlan slid into the driver's seat, engine roaring to life. The sergeant waved him off, heading back to his own ride. We pulled away from the curb, the Chevy shrinking in the side mirror, my life in that bag left behind for the tow truck. Streetlights blurred past as we merged onto Lake Street, heading east toward the loop. The radio sputtered dispatch chatter, codes I half recognized from joint ops. Harlan glanced back through the mesh. "You comfortable back there?" I didn't bite, just watched the city unfold, the glow of downtown rising, the L track snaking overhead, shadows playing on boarded-up storefronts. He tried again. "Should have just opened the bag, man. Would have been done by now." Still silent. My dignity wasn't in words anymore. It was in the wait, in knowing the storm I could call once we hit the precinct. The cruiser accelerated, tires humming over potholes. My wrists throbbed in rhythm. And as the skyline sharpened ahead, I mapped the path forward in my head, every step, every contact, every consequence for the man in the front seat who thought he held all the cards. The precinct loomed soon enough, a squat brick building off Wabash, floodlights harsh against the night. Harlan parked in the bay, killed the engine. "End of the line," he said, opening my door and hauling me out. I stood straight, the cuffs pulling as he marched me toward the entrance. The air inside hit like a wall, stale coffee, sweat, fluorescent buzz. Processing waited, the grind of bureaucracy masking the grind of bias. But as we crossed the threshold, my resolve hardened further. This chapter wasn't closing yet. Not by a long shot. The real escalation was just beginning, hidden in the calm I wore like armor. The fluorescent tubes overhead hummed like trapped insects as Officer Harlan guided me through the heavy steel door of the 11th District Station. Each step echoed off the linoleum, the sound bouncing between cinder block walls painted institutional gray years ago and never refreshed. The air changed immediately, thicker, laced with burnt coffee, disinfectant that never quite won against the underlying sourness of bodies and worry, and the faint metallic bite of gun oil from the armory down the hall. Harlan's hand stayed firm on my upper arm, not quite a shove, but close enough to make the point. We passed the booking counter where a night shift clerk in a rumpled polo glanced up, registered the cuffs, then looked away like it was just another Tuesday. Behind the counter, a row of monitors flickered with feeds from perimeter cameras. One showed my Impala being hooked to a tow truck back on Washington Boulevard, my entire evening's evidence dangling from a chain like laundry on a line. "Sit," Harlan said, steering me toward a metal bench bolted to the wall in the processing area. The bench was cold through my jeans. I lowered myself carefully, wrists still pinned behind me, shoulders already protesting the angle. He left me there without another word, disappearing through a swinging door marked Authorized Personnel Only. Minutes stretched. I counted them by the rhythm of footsteps in the corridor, the occasional bark of laughter from the bullpen, the crackle of radios spitting fragments of other people's emergencies. A woman in a faded hoodie was cuffed to a ring farther down the bench, staring at the floor between her sneakers. She didn't look up. Neither did I try to catch her eye. We were both in the same silent club tonight. Eventually the door swung open again. Not Harlan this time. A detective, mid-40s, sport coat over a polo, badge on his belt instead of a uniform shirt. He carried a clipboard and my gym bag slung over one shoulder, like it weighed nothing. Behind him came Harlan, expression tighter now, jaw working a piece of gum like it owed him money. "Marcus Reed?" the detective asked. I nodded once. He set the bag on the counter, unzipped it without ceremony. The contents spilled again. Papers, phone, the water bottle rolling to a stop against a stapler. He lifted the secure device first, turned it over, studied the matte black case with its subtle federal engraving. This yours? Yes. Unlock it. I've already explained. It's a federal-issued device containing classified material. You require a warrant or supervisory approval from my agency. He gave a small, tired smile that didn't reach his eyes. Agency. Right. He set the phone down, picked up the topmost redacted summary. Even under the harsh light, the black bars couldn't hide everything. DEA, Chicago Field Division. Operation Shadow Net Phase 3, a date stamp from 3 weeks prior. His thumb paused on the gold-embossed seal at the bottom corner. Harlan shifted his weight. Told you, Detective Ruiz. Guy's mouthy, won't cooperate. Probably drugs or cash in there somewhere. Ruiz didn't answer right away. He flipped to the next page. More redactions, more headers, another seal, then another. He exhaled through his nose, slow. The sound of someone realizing the coffee they just drank was decaf. Harlan, he said quietly, go get Sergeant Kowalski. Tell him we need the watch commander down here, now. Harlan hesitated. Sarge, he's just... Now! Harlan left, boots clipping fast down the hall. Ruiz turned back to me, voice lower. You really federal? I am. What division? Drug Enforcement Administration, Supervisory Special Agent. Ruiz rubbed the bridge of his nose. Jesus, why didn't you say something sooner? I did, multiple times. He looked at the cuffs still locked on my wrists, then at Harlan's empty spot. These stay on until we verify. Understood. More waiting. The woman down the bench was led away by a female officer. A drunk in a Bears jersey was brought in, singing off-key until someone told him to shut it. I sat through all of it, shoulders burning, mind methodically replaying every exchange since the blue lights first appeared, cataloging tone, word choice, physical contact, building the timeline brick by brick. The watch commander arrived 10 minutes later. Captain Elena Vasquez, late 50s, short silver hair pulled back tight, uniform crisp despite the hour. She took one look at the open bag, the scattered documents, me on the bench, and her expression flattened into something professional and very still. Uncuff him, she said to no one in particular. A patrol officer stepped forward with keys. The steel released with twin snaps. Circulation rushed back in prickling waves. I rubbed my wrists once, discreetly, then stood. My legs felt stiff but solid. Vasquez approached, stopped a respectful distance away. Mr. Reed? Captain, she extended a hand. I shook it, firm, brief. I'm Captain Vasquez. I apologize for the way this has been handled so far. We're going to move this to my office if you'd follow me. I nodded. She gestured for Ruiz to gather the bag. Carefully this time. No crumpling. Harlan hovered at the edge of the group, face pale under the lights, eyes darting between me and the captain like he was waiting for the floor to open. We walked a short hallway lined with framed commendations and faded recruitment posters. Vasquez's office was small but orderly. Desk, 2 chairs, American flag in the corner, photo of her with the mayor on the wall. She closed the door behind us. Ruiz set the bag on a side table. Harlan stayed outside, door cracked, shadow visible through the glass. Sit if you like, Vasquez said. I'll stand. She didn't argue. Instead, she pulled out her phone, dialed a number from memory, put it on speaker. Special Agent in Charge Martinez, Chicago Field Division, please. This is Captain Elena Vasquez, Chicago PD, 11th District. A pause. Then a familiar voice. My boss. Crisp. No nonsense. Elena, what's wrong? I have one of your people here. Supervisory Special Agent Marcus Reed. He was stopped earlier tonight, cuffed, vehicle towed, documents and device in our possession. Silence on the line, thick enough to taste. Is he injured? No, ma'am. Is any evidence compromised? Vasquez glanced at the bag. We haven't opened encrypted items, Paper documents were handled during initial search. Another beat. Put him on. Vasquez handed me the phone. Boss. Marcus. Martinez's tone shifted. Relief edged with steel. You good? Physically, yes. Chain of custody? Broken the moment the bag was accessed without warrant or exigent circumstances. Understood. Stay where you are. I'm sending a team. ETA 20 minutes. Do not sign anything. Do not make statements beyond identifying yourself and your status. Captain Vasquez. Vasquez leaned in. Yes, SAC. Your officer opened federal materials without authorization. That's a felony under 18 U.S.C., 1905, and potentially 701. I need body cam footage preserved, cruiser video preserved, booking photos if any were taken. All of it. Immediately. Already in progress. Good. We'll handle the rest from here. The call ended. Vasquez set the phone down slowly. Harlan's shadow moved outside the door, pacing now. Ruiz cleared his throat. Captain, should we... Stay with Mr. Reed, she said. I need to speak with Officer Harlan. She left. The room went quiet except for the low drone of the air handler. Ruiz stood by the wall, arms folded, studying the floor. I remained near the desk, back straight, letting the adrenaline ebb into something colder, more precise. Through the glass, I watched Vasquez pull Harlan into a side room. His shoulders hunched. Gestures grew sharp. His, then hers. At one point, he raised both hands, palms out, the universal signal for, I didn't know. I turned away. Looked instead at the photo on the wall. Vasquez shaking hands with the mayor at some community event. Smiles for the camera. Behind those smiles, the same machinery that had just rolled over me without hesitation. 20 minutes felt longer than they should have. Then the hallway filled with new footsteps. Purposeful, multiple sets. Dark suits, windbreakers with yellow DEA lettering across the back. Martinez led them, face unreadable, until she saw me through the glass. A flicker of something, concern, maybe anger, crossed her features before she locked it down. She pushed the door open. 2 agents followed, one carrying an evidence collection kit. Marcus. Ma'am. She scanned the room, the bag, me. You hurt? Wrists are sore. Nothing permanent. She nodded once. We're taking custody of the materials and of you. Captain Vasquez has agreed to release you pending full review. Ruiz stepped forward. Everything's documented. We pulled the body cam upload already. Martinez didn't thank him. She simply said, Good. Agent Torres will inventory and seal in your presence, Agent Reed. Torres opened the kit, began cataloging each item aloud. Date, time, description, condition. When he reached the crumpled corner of one report, he paused, photographed it, noted apparent mishandling during initial search. Harlan appeared in the doorway then, summoned by Vasquez. He stood rigid, eyes fixed on a spot above my left shoulder. Martinez turned to him. Officer Harlan? Yes, ma'am. You will be interviewed by Internal Affairs and by federal investigators within the next 48 hours. Do not discuss this incident with anyone outside your chain of command or legal counsel. Understood? He swallowed. Yes, ma'am. She didn't soften the next words. You detained a federal agent performing official duties, accessed classified materials without authority, and initiated an unlawful seizure. Those are federal offenses. The U.S. Attorney's Office will decide charges. Harlan's face drained to the color of old paste. His hands flexed at his sides, then fell still. I watched the change happen. The moment the weight of his badge flipped from shield to anchor. No dramatic collapse, no pleading. Just the slow, visible sinking of a man realizing the ground under him had shifted permanently. Martinez turned back to me. Ready? I nodded. Torres sealed the last evidence bag, affixed tamper tape, handed me the receipt. I folded it into my pocket. We walked out together, me in the middle, agents flanking, Harlan left standing alone in the hallway light. As the precinct doors closed behind us, the night air hit fresh against my skin. The city hummed on, indifferent. But inside my chest, something uncoiled. Not relief exactly, but the certainty that the next move was mine, and it was going to be deliberate. We piled into an unmarked SUV, idling at the curb outside the station, the engine purring low like a cat waiting to pounce. Martinez took the front passenger seat, while Torres and another agent sandwiched me in the back. No one spoke at first, the kind of quiet that follows a storm, where you're still tasting the rain. As we pulled away, the precinct shrank in the rear view, its floodlights fading into just another glow in Chicago's endless night. I leaned against the door, the cool glass pressing my temple, watching the looped skyscrapers slide by like silent judges. That uncoiling in my chest sharpened into focus, a blade honed by the hours just endured. The drive to the field office wasn't long. 15 minutes through light traffic, the Dan Ryan reversed now, heading south. Martinez broke the silence halfway there. We'll debrief tomorrow. Get some rest tonight. I'll handle the initial report. I nodded, eyes on the passing billboards advertising lawyers and lotto wins. What about Harlan? She glanced back. IA's already looping in. Feds will oversee. You want to press charges personally? Not yet. Let the process roll first. She grunted approval. Smart. But document everything. Bruises, marks, get photos. My wrists were already blooming red rings, faint but telling. I'd snap pics later in the harsh light of my bathroom mirror. Evidence. Always evidence. We arrived at the DEA's Chicago hub, a nondescript mid-rise off Roosevelt, all tinted windows and secure gates. The team escorted me inside, past the night guard who nodded recognition. In a conference room smelling of fresh printer ink and stale donuts, Torres laid out the recovered items on a long table. We inventoried again. Every page, every file, the phone powered down and sealed in a Faraday pouch. Martinez signed off, then handed me a temp badge. Yours until we replace the secure one. Thanks. She paused at the door. Marcus, off the record, this could have gone south fast. You handled it textbook. Textbook doesn't cover the feel of it, I said quietly. Her eyes softened a fraction. No, it doesn't. See you at 0800. They left me with a ride home, an agency pool car, driver silent and efficient. Oak Park welcomed me back with its sleeping streets, porch lights winking like they knew nothing had happened. I unlocked my front door at 2 a.m., the house dark and empty. No wife, no kids, divorced 5 years back, casualties of the job's long shadows. I flicked on the kitchen light, poured a glass of water, and stood at the sink staring at the backyard fence under moonlight. Sleep didn't come easy. I lay on the couch instead, replaying the stop in fragments, the flashlight's glare, Harlan's smirk, the bag zipper rasping open, but woven through it was the broader thread, the one tying me to every stop like it, every profile that fit because of melanin and nothing more. By dawn, resolve had solidified. This wasn't ending with a report. It was starting something bigger. The next morning, I met Martinez in her office overlooking the river. She had coffee ready, black, strong. Harlan suspended pending investigation. CPD's fast-tracking IA. Turns out he's got a file. 3 prior complaints, all from black motorists in the suburbs. Suspicious vehicle stops, no tickets issued. Patterns clear. I sipped, the bitterness grounding. How deep? Deep enough. One complainant from last year, Dad picking up his kid from soccer in Oak Park. Harlan pulled him over, same script, bag search, cuffs for non-compliance. No charges, but the guy filed a formal grievance. Ignored until now. Karma's wheels turning, slow but inevitable. And the feds? U.S. attorneys reviewing for civil rights violations. 18 U.S.C. 242. Deprivation under color of law. If it sticks, he's looking at fines, prison time. I leaned back. I want in on the suit, she nodded. Thought you might. We'll coordinate with DOJ Civil Rights Division. Your testimony's key. Over the next weeks, the machine cranked into gear. I filed the federal complaint under Section 1983. Unlawful detention, excessive force, racial profiling. Named Harlan, the department, even the city for systemic failures. Discovery unearthed more. Harlan's dash cam from prior stops, emails joking about profiles in the locker room. One video showed him cuffing a young black delivery driver for looking nervous, bag tossed like trash. Echoes of my night multiplied. The media caught wind 2 months in, a leak from a whistleblower cop tired of the blue wall. Headlines hit. Undercover Fed cuffed in bias stop. DEA agent sues CPD. Protests flared outside City Hall. Signs reading "Badge Not Blind" and "End the Profile." Community groups rallied, sharing stories that mirrored mine. Dads, uncles, brothers pulled over for breathing while black. Harlan crumbled under the scrutiny, suspended without pay, then terminated after IA's report confirmed the pattern. No pension. He'd only been on 5 years, but the firing blackballed him. Last I heard, he packed up for some small town in Wisconsin, applying for mall security gigs that ghosted him once they Googled his name. Karma didn't swing a hammer. It just eroded the ground beneath him until he fell. The suit settled out of court 6 months later. $1.8 million, one of the higher payouts for a single wrongful stop in city history. I kept enough for legal fees and a quiet fund for my niece's college. The rest? Donated to the Chicago Urban League's anti-bias training programs and a legal aid clinic specializing in police misconduct. Places that equip the everyday folks. The warehouse workers clocking out late. The students biking home with tools to fight back without a federal badge in their pocket. In the aftermath, I returned to the field, but with eyes wider. Operation ShadowNet wrapped successfully. Those encrypted files led to 7 more arrests, a major dent in the cartel's local ops. Promotions came my way, but I turned down the desk job, stayed undercover, where the real change brews in the shadows. Looking back now, that humid night didn't just scar, it schooled. Justice wears a blindfold in theory, but in practice, it's got eyes that squint based on shade and zip code. We push anyway, not for payback, but for the ripple. For the dad who makes it home without a story to tell his kids. For the teen in a hoodie who walks free without the weight of suspicion crushing his stride. It's about mending the cracks in a foundation built uneven, ensuring the quiet lives don't get swallowed by the noise of power misused. And yeah, it stings knowing my reveal flipped the script. Without it, I might have been another statistic, booked, bailed, forgotten. That's the fire that keeps me going, turning my exception into the rule for everyone. So tell me, what would you have done if those lights hit your mirror? Swallowed the pride or pushed the line? Does a payout fix the fracture? Or do we need to demolish and redesign the whole damn structure? Drop your thoughts in the comments if you've walked a similar road. And if you're convinced that accountability is the only true equalizer, share this story wide. Let's amplify these truths until they echo in every precinct. Hit subscribe to join the circle. Your perspective fuels the momentum, keeps the balance tipping toward right. In the aftermath, I returned to the field, but with eyes wider. Operation ShadowNet wrapped successfully. Those encrypted files led to 7 more arrests, a major dent in the cartel's local ops. Promotions came my way, but I turned down the desk job. Stayed undercover, where the real change brews in the shadows. Looking back now, that humid night didn't just scar, it schooled. Justice wears a blindfold in theory, but in practice, it's got eyes that squint based on shade and zip code. We push anyway, not for payback, but for the ripple. For the dad who makes it home without a story to tell his kids. For the teen in a hoodie who walks free without the weight of suspicion crushing his stride. It's about mending the cracks in a foundation built uneven, ensuring the quiet lives don't get swallowed by the noise of power misused. And yeah, it stings knowing my reveal flipped the script. Without it, I might have been another statistic. Booked, bailed, forgotten. That's the fire that keeps me going, turning my exception into the rule for everyone. So tell me, what would you have done if those lights hit your mirror? Swallowed the pride or pushed the line? Does a payout fix the fracture? Or do we need to demolish and redesign the whole damn structure? Drop your thoughts in the comments if you've walked a similar road. And if you're convinced that accountability is the only true equalizer, share this story wide. Let's amplify these truths until they echo in every precinct. Hit subscribe to join the circle. Your perspective fuels the momentum, keeps the balance tipping toward right. So tell me, what would you have done if those lights hit your mirror? Swallowed the pride or pushed the line? Does a payout fix the fracture? Or do we need to demolish and redesign the whole damn structure? Drop your thoughts in the comments if you've walked a similar road. And if you're convinced that accountability is the only true equalizer, share this story wide. Hit subscribe.